All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Happy holidays. Come on. You got to be in the mood this time of year. Why not wear the hat? We're at the end of the year here. I hope you all are having an amazing end to the year. And listen, don't slack right now. A lot of people start to slack off. Whatever you're doing right now is setting you up for 2026. It's setting you up for the day you start on January. For some of you, first, second, fifth, whatever it is. But I'm excited for this conversation. I have an awesome guest today. And, we're going to talk about a crisis in this country, in this world. And it's a big one. It's around leadership. Okay. But first, some of you are joining us live. I see a bunch of you on live with us right now. Drop in the chat where you're coming from. We want to give you a shout out as we see it come up there. I know there's a little delay from when we're live to when that comes up, but I'll make sure we give you a shout out when we see you pop in here. And then if you're on Team Replay, drop it in here. Say, hey, I joined on replay. Let us know. We want to see who watches these. Sean wants to make sure. I know Sean has a lot of people he invited to this. He wants to see who came on to support him, and we really appreciate it. But, Sean Richards and I are going to talk about the crisis of leadership with emerging leaders today, okay? And if you have questions as we go through this, drop them in there. And like I said, if you're on replay, do the same thing because we can check these things, all right? We can come back and address these questions. Now, I will also say up here, as Sean talks, Sean's going to be doing a masterclass on this topic much deeper as we go into the new year, okay? So his masterclass is the second week of January. It's complimentary. Anytime, scan that, and you can join the masterclass. You hear us talk a little bit about that. But Sean, awesome to have you here today. We got a bunch of people on LinkedIn I see connected and Facebook right now. So one more time, let us know where you're coming in from if you're on the socials. But Sean, I believe each and every person has what they call a mission that matters within them, right? It's something they've been through in life, something that has caused them to learn something, break through on something that can benefit many, many others. That could be on a personal basis. It could be on a business basis. But I want to know what your mission that matters is and who you're fighting for and why you're fighting for them. And as we do this, let's just give a couple shout outs before we go over there, Sean. We got Pam who showed up here. Let me get Pam up on the chat. I just want to give a couple shout outs to our live participants. Hello, Pam from Houston. We're not jealous that Pam's going to Hawaii soon. And I don't know Casey, but I like where Casey lives right here. Casey, Boulder, Colorado. Don't be jealous. The East Coast has more snow than you right now. Casey might not like that right now. Then we got David. What's David got here? David's in between roles. Ooh, David, this would be a great conversation for you. So listen, I know there's always a delay on lives. Just as you come in, I'm going to pop your name up here. But Sean, back to you. Your mission that matters, who you're fighting for, and why you're fighting for them.
That's great. Thanks so much for having me on today, Chris. I'm really excited. This is a topic I'm obviously very passionate about. The short version is this. I've spent a lot of years working with entrepreneurs, with founders, and as they've been growing their companies and I've been consulting with them, I've seen more and more of a little bit of a kind of a drought in leadership. And it's not because people aren't excited about leadership or they're excited about being productive at work. It's because they lack some skills. And so I've been developing a program and a whole system to really help individuals understand how they lead best. And as I started thinking, well, do I take this to the executive level? Certainly it can work at the executive level, but I really became passionate about working with the emerging leaders, those that are roughly 25 to 35 years old, maybe in a first or second time leadership role, because they're optimistic, they're teachable, and they're looking forward. They're looking ahead. Yeah. And so there's a lot of desire on my end to connect with them and to just help and guide them along. They're smart. This next generation coming up is really smart. Yeah. They don't need a bunch of old guys telling them what to do, but perhaps providing some reassurance and some guidance on some things that they can employ as they are becoming more and more confident leaders.
And you're right. They are smart. It's amazing. Like I see this next generation, these young adults, what they come in with, the knowledge, the skill set. But there's this thing. It's like, hey, this leadership thing. It's kind of like, whoa, hold on. I know some getting out of school, it's the last thing they want. They're like, I just want to show up and do what I got to do because there's too much pressure. There's too many other things that hit. So let's have this conversation a little bit around this. And I'm just moving my screen. If you guys see my eyes go up once in a while, I have two screens here just to make sure we keep stable connections. But let's talk about the leadership challenges we're seeing going forward, because there's a ton of them right now.
Yeah, there are. In my research over the last few months, especially, I've kind of identified three things that are all converging at the same time. And it's rather unsettling. I have to admit, I'm an old guy that's been around the block a couple of times.
I got some gray hairs too. Don't worry about it.
Well, we share that then, but when I look at the emerging leaders, I can understand why it might be a little bit intimidating to consider a leadership role, because typically what happens is someone who accepts a leadership role, they find themselves a little more stressed out, a little more overwhelmed, they're spending more time and all these kinds of things. And so one of these converging points, there's three of them that I'll mention just very briefly this morning.
Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Okay, well, whatever time we've got, but I'll hustle through and make sure there's time for questions and all that kind of thing. But the first one is just what I would call the attitude of Gen Z right now. And that is that they're a little bit leery of this idea of leadership and what is it? And do they really want to put in a lot more time? And do they want to be burned out by the time they're 40 and all of these kinds of things that are very understandable concerns? And so LinkedIn, ironically, did a report or a research study recently that about 70% of the Gen Z group do not want to go into leadership and be people managers.
Wow.
And that's alarming to me because, wow, that's a really high number. That's much higher than I would.
Moment.
Yeah, that's it's really, wow, that many do not want to engage in a leadership role. The second item that is really from a different source, but again, they're converging. And it's what we refer to as the silver tsunami, okay? And what that is, we have a whole generation of baby boomers and the Gen Xers, of which I'm a part, who are getting ready to sell their business in the next 5 to 10 years. And there's a huge wave of them. It's estimated about 8 to 9 million business owners will be looking to sell their business in the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
And that is a ton. Well, with my training in exit planning, I've observed, or I shouldn't say observed, but it's part of the process of selling a business. A prospective buyer wants to see that there is a good, strong leadership team already existing in the company and that it can run successfully without the previous owner being involved in the day-to-day operations. Well, that can't happen without good, strong leadership in place. This idea of transferability is what we call that.
Yep.
But a prospective owner, if they're going to be looking to buy a business, they want to see that. And so we are now seeing that if we don't have good, strong leadership existing, where's it going to come from in these next 5 to 10 years? You couple that with what we just talked about in this idea that these Gen Zers really don't want to engage in leadership. That's a problem. That's a problem. It's like, okay, well, we need more leadership so we can stabilize and make a business more transferable, but we don't have the leadership coming up to help strengthen that leadership team. The third one, and this is one that is probably fairly obvious once I say it, and that is simply AI. AI is disrupting so much right now. I was at a breakfast here just a few weeks ago, and the speaker mentioned, and I think she was quoting somebody, but if I remember correctly, the number was approximately 75% of the jobs that will exist in 5 years do not currently exist. And that's a massive turnover in that regard is just huge. So when I consider all three of these elements all converging at the same point and at the same time within the next 5 to 10 years, I'm asking myself, what is consistent throughout all of that? What do we need through all of that? It's leadership. Regardless of what AI does, we will always need strong, confident leaders in any role. We're not just talking business, although that's what we're going to be talking about today, but certainly within our communities. We've kind of watched with a lot of disdain what's happening with politicians and whatnot. I'm not going to go there too deep, but we need better leadership all across the board, within families, within communities, churches, businesses, of course. So we need better, stronger, more confident leadership. So we have these three converging elements, kind of the attitude of the Gen Zs, this silver tsunami of new businesses. Well, I shouldn't say new, existing businesses that are going to be sold to new owners.
That's a crazy number too.
It is. It's a big number. If you want to buy a business, it's very exciting. Yeah. But again, how are you going to distinguish? Okay, I've got three businesses. They're all doing pretty well. But if one of those has really strong leadership and the other two don't, which one are you going to buy? Which one are you going to invest in? It's going to be those that have strong leadership. And so going back to kind of where my passion is, it's really wanting to help prepare these emerging leaders who are just getting started and or maybe have been around for a few years, but they see themselves in the C-suite. They see themselves becoming these entrepreneurs that either buy an existing company or they build their own company, whatever it is. But the common thread that's going to be running through this tapestry of change in the next 5 to 10 years is leadership. And we just don't have a lot of time to help this generation get ready. And so that's why I'm passionate about what I do. But that's really ultimately those three converging principles are all happening at the same time. And each of those three industries, if you will, are kind of talking about it in their own little bubble.
Okay.
So when you put all three of them together, now it really starts to create this real sense of crisis. I don't think that that's an overemphasis of that word. I don't think it's an inappropriate use of that word. I really do think that there's a crisis. I think that this generation of 20-year-olds are saying, I don't like the idea of leadership. I don't like what I see. I don't want that for my life. But yet we need strong leadership. So how are we going to cover that gap? And that's really the challenge that's before us in this day and age.
Sounds more like an opportunity also, though, right? Such
Sure.
a big opportunity. I mean, if you look at this, like I just taken some notes. I mean, I knew about the 70% don't have the desire, but that tsunami, that's insane. Like, and those people looking to sell those businesses, they need these leaders in there. So, like, what do you feel we need to do right now to really wake these potential leaders up because they have something inside them? They're just not
Sure.
getting it out. And like, how do we get them there? How do we get them there faster? And I mean, yeah, we got AI, we got all this stuff, but the reality is with AI, like it's people like us who actually probably will understand, they know how to use the technology, but it's us who can decipher what's coming out of that because we have the experience. And that's
That's
one of
right.
the benefits we bring to the game. So what do you see that really needs to happen to clean some of these three coming together to take them to the level that you want to take them to?
Yeah, it's a great question. The short version is, I mean, there's two or three different ideas that we'll share here in the next few minutes. The first one is we need to kind of reframe or redefine what leadership really is. We have this sense, what I mentioned earlier, people view it as there's some burnout elements there, that there might be a lot of extra hours, that they really don't want to
Yeah.
engage in that kind of activity. And that could all be true, but that's usually, if you're experiencing that as a leader, there are some things that we can fix to make leadership more enjoyable. And so we do want to kind of reframe it and redescribe it as something that you have an opportunity to make a difference for good and have a positive influence, a positive impact in someone else's life. You can empower employees. You can help take an existing team that's just kind of getting along okay, but really transform them into a high performing team. You can be part of innovation. You can be part of motivation and inspiring people. There's a lot of great things
Yeah.
about being a leader that each of us can contribute in different ways. And that leads to kind of the second item that I'll mention. We do need to understand that Steve Jobs is a wonderful leader, but he was a very different kind of leader than how I would approach leadership.
Yeah.
So a big part of understanding leadership as we continue to evolve and understand what leadership can and should be is to understand what you bring to the table as a leader, what your strengths are, and how you best lead. We all do it. We all have this tendency to look at someone else that we admire and respect, or that has had great success, however you choose to define that, and we say, well, what made them successful? And we list off what we perceive to be the qualities of a great leader, and then we try to become that. And there's some value in that, but
Yeah.
I would argue that there's more value in simply understanding yourself and what's good about you, what talents you have, what strengths you have, and then developing those so that you can really lean into that role. You don't have to be everything in leadership. You can be the type of leader that motivates and inspires, that has great vision. We need leaders like that.
Yeah.
But you can also be a leader that simply engages with people and is maybe more of a servant leader style,
Yeah.
that you get with your team and you really make sure that they have everything that they need to be successful, and that's how you raise the performance of the entire team or the company. There's so much that we can do to help each of us. Age at this point doesn't really matter.
No.
Young or a little bit older like me, you still have an opportunity to understand yourself and to clearly understand how you can make a positive impact and influence in the world around you. and how that could apply to a leadership role. And again, we need to kind of zoom out just a little bit. It isn't always just in a business setting. It can be in a community setting. Maybe you're doing local government or something like that. It could be on the homeowners association. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that you can influence and be a part of something. And that is leadership. All of that is leadership. And so that's why it's important to really understand where you're coming from and what your strengths are. And then the final element that I'll just mention is to really focus on, once you kind of discover that, then develop it. Don't just stop at that point and say, well, this is who I am. Develop it, lean into it, and really say, what can I do to lean into my strengths, develop myself, add some skills on top of that layer, if you will, what my strengths are, and how can I become a better leader? When you start to engage in yourself that way, then leadership isn't so intimidating. Now you have a little bit more confidence, you have a little bit more clarity in who you are. You can communicate more effectively now with other leaders as well as your leaders if you're looking to be promoted or something like that. Then now you've got some language that you can use that's really powerful language, and you've got skills that you can back up. Hey, this is how I know that I can be successful, and you have that inner confidence. And now we're not quite as concerned about burnout. We're not concerned about other things because we've got some good balance there. So those are a few ideas on what we can do. Now that's coming from the individual's perspective. Now let's kind of twist it just a little bit. Senior leadership. If you're in a senior leadership role, if you're in the C-suite right now, I would hope that you would be looking to that next generation and saying, what can we do to help them? What can we do to develop them? We've already identified that it's getting harder and harder to find those individuals who are interested in leadership. So when you do find those that are interested, what are you going to do with them? You got to find a way to not only identify them, but you've got to help them along. So I'm really going to push this hard, that if you're in senior leadership, if you're a business owner, if you're looking at the next generation to help you with your business or your company, please invest in them. Please find a way to say, whatever it is, it doesn't even have to cost a lot of money. You could start, here's one simple idea, start a book club in your company. Just grab a book and say, this month we're going to read this, and what did we learn from it? It does not need to cost a lot of money. Yes, you can go get someone like me who's going to come in with a program, but start somewhere. Start somewhere, and let's get the ball moving in the right direction.
I like that idea of a simple book club. It's like just something simple that can get people really collaborating, having those chats, and then being able to use cases from that whole scenario. And that's real time. Yeah. Now let's look at this. Like, I'm going back to this silver tsunami, because that one I didn't know. Okay. That one kind of hit me. Let's say you go into one of these companies, Sean, because this is what you do. And it's one of those 9 million companies that within the next 5 years are going to sell themselves. And you're looking, and they really want to make sure that they're marketable. What's the first thing you're going to do when you start walking into that company?
From a leadership consultant perspective, I'm going to look for a leadership development plan. What is your plan to develop leadership? Are you engaging with your people at all levels? And is it unified in that effort? Whether it's a simple plan or a more complex one. We have business plans, we have marketing plans, we have sales plans. Do we have a leadership plan? Again, I'm going to emphasize it again because it's so important in my mind. We have to have a plan to do that. It does not have to be complex, but start somewhere and just take a half a day. Get your C-suite together and discuss it. What can we do? What kind of a plan can we put into place that has accountability actions, that has, okay, for the emerging leaders, we're going to do this for them. For middle management, we're going to do here. Obviously, it depends on the size of your company. But if you're in a senior leadership role, what are they going to do? Are they more in a mentorship role now to help the younger generation? All of these elements will help to strengthen and reinforce your emerging and existing leaders as you prepare them, and as you move up the channel. It's going to help. And the great thing about all of this is that even if you're a little bit further out, maybe you're not 3 to 5 years preparing to sell your business, but 5 to 10 years or 10 to 15, your business is only going to get better in the meantime. It can only go up if you engage and develop and create a leadership development plan.
So, and I know obviously you're passionate about this. We would not be talking about this. We wouldn't be going down. But you've realized a massive need in the marketplace. And last few months ago, you came to me and said, "Hey, Chris, I got to get my message out more. I want to help more people. There's a
Yeah.
big need in this world." So now next month, you're launching a masterclass around this topic, right? And for all of you, you can scan this right here, boom, or I can put this in the chat right now. But let's talk about what you're going to do in this masterclass. It's the right here. You can scan this right in front of Sean. It'll take you right to the checkout. It's complimentary. But let's talk about what you're going to do in this. And if you want, I can share the page also if you want.
Sure. Yeah, we can whatever you'd like to do. I think that'd be great. But this is called the Leadership Leap because this is the first one, and we don't want to necessarily call it a leap of faith. We don't want you to come in with that approach. But essentially, what we're going to be doing is starting this process, and we're going to start by helping each individual understand what we call authority signals. And we'll talk about 3 of them in the masterclass, how you can come across with more confidence and more authority so that you can lead better, more confidently, more from within yourself. And we will also break down a few leadership myths. And we've already started to touch on those in our short little discussion today. But that's what we'll be doing in the masterclass. It won't be long. We're talking a 90-minute class, probably be more like 60 to 75 minutes, and we'll leave some time for some questions. But we're going to go a little bit deeper, and we're going to start the step. As Chris mentioned, there's no cost to this. This is just a way to get started. And let's start the process of developing ourselves as leaders. If you're in any way curious, come check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm a fun guy. I like to have fun when I do anything. I believe that there's an element of fun in all things, and master classes can be fun too, and we can learn and be productive at the same time. So yeah, come join us.
I mean, this is to get in a world with you and have that conversation. And listen, if you're listening to this and others who are in that category that Sean is talking about, invite them to this. This is a game changer for them also. But if you're on here as a company owner or a leader in a company, this is important for you too, to get this insight. This is what Sean does day in and day out. And we spent some time putting this all together, and here he is ready to launch it right before the holidays. I was so excited about that. We all got it done in time. But this gets you into a room without, quite frankly, I told Sean he should be charging for this. It's like, hey, Sean, you should be charging people for this. But he wanted to give. He wanted to kick 2026 off. I can't believe I'm saying 2026 right now because I just talking about 2025, whole different topic. But he wanted to kick 2026 off. And I seen a bunch of you just scan this. So get on there, pass the word about this. It's on the 15th of January. So you got some time here, but we wanted to get this word out early. So Sean had time to impact as many lives as he can with this. Yeah. So what's exciting you about this opportunity, Sean, to really to do this masterclass and show your magic on how you can help people?
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate the endorsement there and the encouragement. I hope that it's coming across either live or the recording, whichever way that you're watching this. It's that important. It's a great time of year. It's a new year, and it's normal for all of us to say, what can I do in the new year to improve myself? Yeah. Am I going to lose weight? Am I going to exercise more? Am I going to read more? Whatever it is, set those goals. Let leadership development and self-development, let that be a part of it. And it doesn't, again, we're talking less than 90 minutes with this. It's worth taking a few minutes to just come and learn, and then you can apply what you've learned and see the difference for yourself.
Cool. So what else? You want to talk about anything else while we're together? We got a few more minutes. We got some folks on. And I saw a few just join, let us know where you're coming in from. We want to give you a shout out for being on live with us. And if you're on Team Replay, just let us know you're on Team Replay. We'll say hello to you after this.
I will point out one last thing, and I was hoping that we might have a little bit of time to talk about this. Good. I'm going to also reach out to parents.
Yeah.
If you are a parent like I am, I have 2 daughters who are in this Gen Z category that we're talking about. So that's another little part of the reason why this is near and dear to my heart. So there's a little bit more there. But if you are a parent of either an older teenager or a young adult that's in their 20s or a little bit beyond even, and you're sensing that they either have some desire to be a leader, or even if they have some resistance to it, but you think maybe they have some ability there, and I can promise you that they do, see if you can twist their arm a little bit to join this, because as a parent, we all have this desire for our children to be better than us. That seems to be kind of the ongoing message from generation to generation. I want the kids in my family to be better off than I am, or I was when I grew up, or whatever the relationship is there. But consider how much, and I love sports. You can see back here, I'm a big sports guy. I love baseball, and I love football. So those are the two. So I'm not knocking this when I say this next part, but I see parents spend thousands and thousands of dollars on sports training. And I think that's great. I really do. I have no problem with it. I'll add, it's worth investing in your children to help them with something that can influence people, regardless of whether they have the title of a leader, they still lead. Leadership is about empowering other people. It's about whether it's motivating them, whether it's creating a system that someone else can come in and use to feel successful and to have success. All of that is leadership. So let's do it. Let's get going, and let's help our kids. Let's help the next generation. If you're just, I mean, again, there's no age restriction. I'm not going to ask you how old you are when you're in the master class. Like, oh, you're too old. Sorry, you can't. No.
Yeah, he's not going to do that, by the way.
I'm doing this because we need the perspective of folks that are maybe a little bit older as well, that can share their experiences. Almost everybody has a great leadership experience and a bad one, and we can learn from both. So yeah, I'll throw that out. I don't know if people are asking questions.
Yeah, we got a question right here. I'm going to put this up from Anna. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
So I'll let you read that and then you answer it. That's definitely not me answering that.
All right, Anna from New York. Thanks, Anna, for joining. We appreciate that. I remember you. How are you? Representing the GZ cohort. Would love to have thoughts on how to navigate working with leaders who are burned out. Yeah, and not really focused on their own development. How can you learn or lean into your leadership skills without making, I don't know if there's.
I'll read the rest. I can see it over here. Without making others feel uncomfortable or unsecure. In other words, how can you shine your light without making older leaders feel insecure? Ooh, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
Good question, Anna.
Yes. I'm going to lean back on what I said a little bit earlier. Everybody leads a little bit differently, and it's understanding that I'm going to lead a little bit differently than Chris is going to lead, than Anna is going to lead, than Joe or Miguel or whoever else is going to lead. So what we want to do is yes, be sensitive and respectful to, if I dare say, the older generation. But that's also an opportunity to have the older generation check out with them and say, hey, would you be willing to mentor a younger individual and let them learn from you? Not everybody will do it, but I would wager that most will. And that's an opportunity to help the two generations connect, which is really important.
Yeah.
That's a lot in the research that I've been doing over years, really. Mentorship and individual coaching is a big deal to this Generation Z, not just in leadership, in any capacity. They're looking for someone who will kind of take them under the wing a little bit, not walk all over them and not intimidate them, but just work with them and help them and guide them and provide some mentorship. They really value that. And so that's one way that you can do it. I would also add, lean into your strengths, identify, hey, the senior leadership strengths are here, and to a younger person, they're here. And how do they help each other? So I would be, if they may have already done this, but that's the first question I would ask. Have you done a strengths workshop with the team or with the individuals to help them understand how they can work with each other?
Awesome. Thank you, Anna, for that question.
Great question, Anna.
So I don't see any others in there, but that was a good one. And we'll say hi to Anna. She said this first or maybe second. So hi, Anna. We didn't do that part. But, I'm looking forward to the masterclass, looking forward to seeing where this goes, looking forward to seeing the change that you start, right? I always tell people, we all start as lone nuts to start a movement. And, Sean has this in his heart to really take this to a whole different level. I'm helping him take it to a whole different level. So, if you know others that should be on this masterclass, hit the link. You'll get it right on your phone if you just scan this, and I'm putting it in the chat also when we're done here. It should have gone in the chat automatically. Actually, if I do this, it'll go right in the chat right now. So there we go. That just dropped in the chat. So the link's there. Or just shoot Sean a DM on LinkedIn. He doesn't bite. He'll send it to you there, and make sure you get there. But let's get this message out. This is something that's going to impact the world going forward. Think about it. The person that's 22 right now, 23, 24, right? I'm a little bit older than that, okay? They're going to change when they're our age, especially my age. The level of change that they're going to experience and the impact they're going to make in that time frame is mind-boggling. Why not accelerate it for them? Why not help them get further faster in a controlled environment that they really can make this impact? And we can get this stat from 70% having no desire to a much, much lower number.
Yeah. I agree.
We thank you all for joining today. Those on replay, we thank you for coming on replay. We're excited to see you. And yeah, there we go. It just dropped in. Anna had a run. So Anna, it was nice. She's staying in the masterclass. So Sean will see who signed up. I saw you had a bunch download. You want to close this out, Sean? I'll let you close it out and then stay on with me.
Sure. First of all, Chris, thank you again for having me this morning. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about such a passionate subject of mine, because I know it influences so many people. And thanks to everybody who either joined us live or will watch it on the replay. I just hope everybody will embrace the opportunity to just start this. Let's start this leadership acceleration in a much more confident, fun way. And it's going to be great how we change things.
Absolutely. So Sean, you stay with me. We thank you all for joining us. Team Replay, we thank you also.